Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 21st, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. I've got this going quite a ways back, but you can see our storm system. It is now starting to retrograde back to the west, and we're going to have additional storm development in this location here. You can actually already see it starting to spin up. That's going to bring additional rainfall amounts and an additional storm off the coastline. We'll go over those details here in a moment, but again, you can kind of see the beginning of this loop are just intense bomb cyclone there, the mid-latitude cyclone. And something interesting here that, for example, the excessive rainfall Alex have been talking about is this Northeast Pacific Vortex here. It's kind of given this entire trough a name. And again, we're going to get additional storm development up that the eastern periphery there, and it's going to move up the coastline here. We'll go over some of that detail here, and we'll show you what the latest in the weather models on that show. But you can see across California and some of southwest Oregon, some pretty nasty flooding as this atmospheric river has been burrowing into the area here for the last few days. Now, let's take a look here at some of the footage we got the other day. Let's see, this is 2 days ago here. Look at that. Caught this here on the GoPro, and I actually had my handheld camcorder recording it as well. But yeah, pretty intense stuff there. A pretty extensive tree damage here across the region. Still over 250,000 people without power across the area. I'll play that one more time. You can see how the tree was on fire as we were sitting there watching it, and then it fell, and then the transformer blew there. So yeah, a pretty wild night there, as you guys know, on Tuesday night. Today is Thursday, and we're still dealing with that storm off our system. As you can see right here, it is now retrograding back to the west, and you can see it's filling. It's not nearly as strong as it was, but again, we have this next storm already riding up the coastline there. We had a water spout on the coastal area there yesterday near Long Beach. You might have seen some of that on social media. We have that potential again as we go through today, Friday, and potentially Saturday also, as this next low is going to come up here, fill and spin a bit as well. So it's going to bring some instability towards some of the coastal areas. We'll check out those details also. So here we go at last night's European model. You can see that low backing up, and the next big low. This is actually a very strong storm. It's going to bring some windy conditions here across the region, but it's staying just far enough off to the west where it is going to save us from a big blow. But still, some winds across the region, especially for the coastal areas there. And then you can see this low fill and spin. And again, it's going to be spreading some tornado and thunderstorm potential towards some of the coastal regions here as we go through this weekend. And again, you can kind of see another feature as we go through Sunday, moving up the coastline there, as well as the Northeast Pacific Vortex just continues to churn as we go on in through next week before it finally starts to weaken. Now, taking a look at the Puget Sound Energy outage map, this is just the Puget Sound Energy one, and I think, 282,000 still without power. This does not include a lot of areas across Snohomish County, but if you zoom in on that, I mean, look at you can just imagine the tree damage that's going on there. I talked about this for several days in advance, and, mentioning that if these wind speeds do materialize out of the east and they get out towards some of the lower elevations, towards 167 and places like Bellevue and places to the east of Lake Sammamish there, that the tree damage would be extensive. And I know there's some extensive tree damage up across Snohomish County. So yeah, this windstorm was all it was cracked up to be and much more. This weather station is the only one still online here for portions of Enumclaw. Again, just extensive tree damage. It's going to be a few days before majority of the people get their power back. And I clicked on that one and check it out. This is where I was set up near on with my car anemometer, an 80-mile-per-hour gust. And you can see multiple gusts. One up towards 70 there, another one up towards 70, and multiple gusts towards 60 and exceeding 60 miles per hour. So if you want one of these weather stations that builds its own forecast for you, it tells you what's going on as far as current advisories or warnings, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Highly recommend that one. So this is what we're looking at now. And again, we still got some lightning strikes that could potentially be moving towards the coast today. But then again, we're going to have this thunderstorm activity as we go through the upcoming weekend. You can already see the leading edge of that next storm system developing. Now, looking at the North American model, this is what the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 60 hours. Again, you can see some of the shower activity moving towards the coast today. And then we scroll off in towards very, very late tonight into Friday morning. There goes our next storm system, some widespread precipitation. We're not looking at flooding potential across Washington or much of Oregon except for southwest Oregon. And so that's not too high on our laundry list here of things to be worried about. We're trying to get everybody mainly back with the power coming up here. But you can see the low spinning up the coastline as we go through the day Saturday. We may have an interesting day here with some thunderstorm potential up the Washington coast down towards northwest Oregon as well. And then maybe even again on Sunday. So taking a look at that instability in the atmosphere, A little bit of a break today, but again, you can't rule out a thunderstorm or two. Then we go on in towards Friday, and then as that cold air aloft rushes back in towards some of the coastal areas, look at all this instability, convective available potential energy, basically the difference in the temperature between the lower levels of the atmosphere and the upper levels of the atmosphere. So, yep, Saturday, watch out for that, coastal areas, as well as the big wave action. I'm going to show you here. So we're still dealing with some big waves kind of back and forth. A little bit of a break here as we go through tonight, but then another shot of wave action as we go through the day Friday there, and kind of keeping those elevated wave activities all the way on and through this weekend. Total snow, not doing too bad here. We do expect another shot. If I scroll back and forth here, you can kind of see this happens late tonight into tomorrow morning. You know, a couple inches maybe of snow quality. You can't rule out a little bit of some of that accumulation and some of the higher terrain there. But, you know, the snow, again, not the big story this round, although it is nice to see some of that flying. So this is the day one excessive rainfall outlook. The high risk still in effect for portions of California. You can see moderate and slight and marginal do still exist into Oregon. So if you have interest down the coastline here, watch out for that. Stay abreast of your local conditions out there. You could be dealing with some of the flooding potential as we go on into the next couple of days. This would be day 2, and then day 3 goes down to California. So if we look at total precipitation in inches, it's kind of highlighting the fact that the bigger amounts are going to be across southwest Oregon, down into California here. We're getting some precipitation here, but we're not looking at flooding concerns north of that area into Oregon, Washington, or British Columbia as we go through the next few days. But we do have to watch for additional cyclone development and see how that unfolds. And you can see these aren't bad amounts here across some of the coastal areas and some of the Olympic Mountains. Now, this is the individual ensemble members. This is our storm that we're still dealing with there, but you can see it will be weakening. And there are 50 lines here. This is the European ensemble run. And so basically 50 members, there's 50 lines. You can see, of course, we're right here, we're right now, so you can see the really good model agreement. But once you start going out the forecast, you notice these get a little bit more squiggly. That's because the farther you go out into a forecast, the greater the uncertainty. And if you see there, 970, 980 millibar low, you might be a little bit numb to this effect, but that is a very strong storm off the coastline there. And it's a good thing it stayed just to the west, because that would have brought a hammer blow if had this thing moved up the Oregon, the Washington coast, and into Vancouver Island there. So it is going to retrograde and fill again off our coastline, and then we'll see what happens after that. I'm taking one more look here. North American model hot off the presses. There goes that low pressure system. But you see the strongest gradient just stays off the coastline there. So that saves us from a very powerful blow. That is a very potent storm here coming up 978 millibars. That is a monster storm in its own right. Good thing it stays off the coastline. But again, some windy conditions will be had across the region. And you can kind of see that here in the 80-meter wind speed. So here we go through today. And as we go through tomorrow, or very late tonight, let's call it first, the Oregon coast is going to get windy again here tonight. You can see some big gusts, Cape Blanco here up the Oregon coast as we go through into tomorrow morning. Easterly winds initially, and I did notice there was a wind advisory out here for some of the foothills of the Cascades. So that's not going to help things, but it should not be as savage, absolutely not at all, as what the last system brought. And then you can see the next wind kind of shooting up the coastline there. But this is more typical November bluster versus if you were a little bit further east with this storm system. And then we scroll on into the weekend here. You can see the northwest interior there. Let me back up on that, because you can see these winds really start to ramp up here as we go through the day tomorrow. Also, do want to call attention to some of that activity, some gusty winds out there, but nothing too extreme or out of the ordinary, not compared to what we just went through. Gold Beach, Oregon coast, just kind of pointing this out again through Thursday night into Friday morning, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. We'll watch those storms as we get a little bit closer. Siskiyou Summit, so Southern California, Southern Oregon, Northern California, higher terrain. Watch out for some of the gusty conditions. I know a lot of trucks have to go back and forth across that higher terrain, and we had a lot of snowfall across Northern California, and it was closing I-5 for a while, so there might be a lot of people trying to cross as we go through tonight to tomorrow morning. So big rigs, high-profile vehicles, be careful as you cross tonight into tomorrow. Tillamook, you can see just a typical November bluster up the coastline with this on the latest European. Same thing for Astoria. Channel's doing great. I mean, 4 days ago we were at 74,000 subscribers, so maybe we'll hit 100,000 this year. Who knows, especially if we start to get some cooler weather and some snow potential as we go on in through December. And also, I do have another El Nino Southern Oscillation video in store either today or tomorrow. I'll get you the latest on that. We'll go over the Climate Prediction Center's most recent predictions and some of the things they're discussing. We'll take a look at the La Nina forecast as well. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, I hope the power comes back on for you soon. That I heard some people might not get it back until Saturday or Sunday. So fingers crossed for that. But anyway, otherwise, hope you guys are all safe, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.